Hello, everybody. I am Dr. Marianne Pinkston, and this is The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston, a podcast bringing you lots of great integrative information and education. And no doubt have a great guest today. We've been working at getting hooked up here. This is Martin Pytela, and he is a certified metabolic typing or testing advisor. And I want to make sure I get that correct for you, Martin. But we have talked a little bit before about some great things you're doing on metabolic typing. I think patients all the audience is going to be really interested in this. I know I was. So let's dive in, give you an idea about what, first of all, I'd like to hear a little bit about your background and who you are and introduce you to my public here.
All right, sure. Hello, thank you. Well, I started out in computer science and business administration, and I was doing fine with that. But along the way, I got into mercury toxicity. Innocent and stupid, in a dental office, in a dentist's chair. I ended up being sold a bill of goods with 12 mercury amalgam fillings. They told me they were silver fillings. They didn't tell me it was the most toxic thing that a human can put in his body that they're going to put in my face. And because of my genetics, I'm a poor methylator. It was a disaster. And it was continuing. And so 10 years in, I finally just caved. I tried surgeons and chiropractors and naturopaths and then more esoteric. And I was at some point grasping at straws because my body was really breaking down.
Absolutely. I think everybody that's in integrative medicine of any avenue has a story, and it's usually, it may be somebody else in your family, but most of the time it's you. And it is something exactly like that. And you go to doctor, and, the physicians don't really focus on the root problem of what's really going on. Mercury poisoning is extremely common. Extremely. Yes.
Yeah. I think if I was 65 and these things were happening to me, I would be thinking I'm just old.
Right.
But I was 25 or 35. Things were happening to me that just shouldn't. So it was way out of norm. And I guess lucky in that because I was experiencing what a person will experience getting old. I was just getting into it real fast.
Absolutely.
So I was really broken down at 35 and finally had to, didn't have to, I chose to take the controls in my own hands, right? Become the agent of my health outcomes.
Your own advocate, which many people have to do now, unfortunately. Fortunately, unfortunately, and I had to do as well, and hence the reason why we're here and spreading the good word. What kind of symptoms did you have?
It started with a herpes breakout, then a massive flu, then periodontal disease set in, carpal tunnel syndrome, gum recession, plantar fasciitis, bad back, and that was the most debilitating. I would just lose it so bad that I would be sleeping face down in a rocking chair and rolling off of it to crawl on all fours to the toilet.
I believe
and crawl back because walking was simply not possible with the way my back would go out. And the chronic pain is a miserable thing. It just really takes us down. So I had that.
Absolutely. And you just described so many things that, like you say, may be related to aging or, long history of sports or, things that we can, set aside. Well, maybe that's what's causing it. But at the heart of it all, this is a very, very common problem. So how did you find it finally? And what kind of testing did you do to figure it out?
Well, interestingly, all these trained professionals, they would work inside of their boxes. The chiropractor would adjust me, but was limited by his licensure to adjusting me. That's it.
Yes.
Right. The orthopedic surgeon gave me a cortisone shot, and it made it better for a while. 6 weeks max.
Yeah.
And so on, right? The naturopath said, well, let's do the scratch test and let's do the Vega test. And he could tell me what I'm allergic to.
Right.
But he had nothing to tell me how to reverse it or why.
Exactly.
And somewhere along the way, I took an HTMA, hair trace mineral analysis test.
Yes.
And I was looking at the results, and it was very high in mercury.
Yeah.
And I was puzzling. I'm not eating a lot of tuna. Where is that from?
Right.
Like, I did not connect it. Silver fillings were not telling me mercury fillings.
Right.
And then one day I read an article somewhere that just the light came on. Oh yeah, of course, mercury.
There you
That's
go.
where it came from. So then I unwound it. I found zeolite. Clean up ptilolite specifically is an
Yes.
awesome binder
Yes.
and very non-invasive. You can just take it in liquid or in capsules or whatever.
Nice.
And it's a binder, and it's really cool because it's electronegative. So the eliminative pathways like liver, kidney, whatever, don't freak out at the electronegative mineral.
Right.
And it wraps itself around the electropositive toxic things like mercury and lead and volatile organic compounds and Teflons and whatever else, all of that PFOA business.
Right.
So it's actually really broad spectrum, and it's really good at dragging stuff out.
Right. So, where do you find where do you find a good version? Is that something I know we're going to get into your business as well and what you have.
Well, now you can easily find it at Life Enthusiast, my business now.
Yes.
But it's out there. It's available. Turns out that zeolite is used in industrial incidents and accidents.
Oh, wow.
Russians were dumping it by truckloads into the rivers when they had the Chernobyl accident in 1986.
Isn't that?
It's an absorber, right? Like, it's used in aquariums to clean out aquariums.
Wow.
The difference is that you want to have something that's human grade, that's clean enough. Industrial grade is easily to get. The human consumption grade is a little rarer. And it needs to be milled correctly so that there are small enough particles that they are into the nanometer size so that they can actually get into cells or into the spaces where this is hiding. The body is so intelligent, it will push these super toxic things into low circulation tissues, which is fat, cartilage, disc, bone.
Right.
Well, so I was breaking down in my cartilages and my discs.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, the brain is also made of fatty tissue. So I was getting processing problems.
Exactly. Brain fog and thoughts pushing through jello type of feeling and word finding, things like that, going into rooms. What did I come in here for? And all those brain fog issues. Yeah. You mentioned a lot of the tendonitis and pain and all very, very common. So tell us a little bit then about Life Enthusiasts and what you do and the testing that you do, because this is where you really caught my attention when we spoke in the beginning.
Yeah. This is a method developed by William Walcott. He introduced it in 1987, culmination of work. He was working for William Kelly, and they were essentially developing this understanding that there are two dominances.
Right.
They labeled it oxidizer and autonomic, and it directs how a person will either alkalize or acidify. And alkalize means pushing into the parasympathetic, and acidify means pushing into the sympathetic side of the autonomic nervous system.
There you go.
The interesting part is that the oxidizers push alkaline on fats and proteins, while the autonomics do it in reverse. They push alkaline on carbohydrate. So you don't know ahead of time which you are until you experiment with yourself.
Right.
You do a carbo test and a fat test. So a carbo test would be something like banana and porridge or alcohol. Right. And a fat test would be something like an omelet, nothing else, or salad with a lot of olive oil or something like that. And so one will drive you in one direction and the other one in the opposite, and that's the reconfirmation. And finally, you'll be able to answer my questions. And the quiz that we administer is about 120 multiple choice questions. And they ask things like, when I eat a high protein breakfast, and then the questions will be something like, I feel sedated, or I feel stimulated, I can think clearly, or my thinking is muddled, or I'm anxious, or I'm depressed.
Right.
Questions and answers.
Right.
And so when you do get the mix of macronutrients right, and that's carb, fat, protein, when you get it right, then you feel stable and think clearly and don't get food cravings. All
Imagine.
kinds of things go away when you get it right.
Right, right. Amazing. Is there any place where you said that, like the quiz that you have and the multiple choice questions, how does somebody get started with this and begin to learn more about themselves?
Well, we do offer a free orientation. So
Nice.
call Life Enthusiast, book a 15-minute talk. We'll listen to your problems. We take a very quick history of where
Yes.
you are and very quickly see the problems, and we can identify what they are and outline what you can do about it. The test itself is not expensive. We charge $97 for it right now.
Not expensive at all. And that's wonderful. What does the testing, what kind of information does it give you?
It comes back with two results. One is your endocrine dominance, which is how you gain weight or lose weight, and your metabolic dominance, which is how you acidify or alkalize. So I'll be able to explain to you any questions you have about weight maintenance, and any question about moods. And of course, if you are stuck in the fight or flight, you will be experiencing high blood pressure, constipation, lack of ability to go to sleep or stay asleep or feel rested when waking, and then tons of symptoms, right? Stiffness on rising, or blood glucose dysregulation, or any one of the myriad of problems related to the metabolic functioning, which it's almost anything, right?
It really is. And you see me grinning because I absolutely feel the majority of the things that you describe, stuck in fight or flight. And again, when we first had our discussion, I began to think, oh my goodness, could it absolutely be just related to what I'm eating? 18 years, rheumatoid arthritis and all these, difficulties, long list of it. And like you, I have looked into every functional type of specialist, every contemporary type of specialist, and, every type of testing and diet and everything that I could. And could it be something so easy, right? And this is something that is unheard of to me, but makes so much sense. Right. Absolutely so much sense.
Yeah. After some time in I had a rich, long 20-something year career in business consulting, management consulting, information technology. But at some point I decided to go help people, just share what I know.
Thank goodness.
So I've been doing this now since 2002. That's a while.
It is a while.
And along the way, I've developed these 4 words, which is toxicity, malnutrition, stagnation, and trauma, as the 4 pillars on which most chronic illness will stand.
Amen.
And it may be tilted in different ways.
Absolutely.
When people ask me, well, what's the most important thing I need to do? Or tell me the one thing I have to do. And my response is, well, please identify the important wheel on your car.
Exactly. Right.
Which one is the important one?
Absolutely.
Which is a silly conundrum. They all have to function. Otherwise, you're going nowhere.
Right.
And therefore, toxicity, that's the presence of stuff that our industrial age has brought to us. Yes. Heavy metals, volatile organic compounds, all manner of stuff that all has to come out if it's already in, and has to stop coming in. And that includes the mercury that I experienced, but there's more to it.
Absolutely.
All of the toxic stuff.
Absolutely. And we're bathed in it from our food, to our makeup and products, and getting people to understand that it's a little bit more easy these days. We are starting to research that even RFK and the Food Babe and some other, people are getting a nice voice as to what our exposures are, and thank God for that. And so you mentioned trauma, though. Very interesting.
Yeah, I'll get to it.
Yeah.
And so we have this toxicity, right? We have binders. So you need to talk to us about what you have. We don't even have to test for it because you will have.
Right.
People ask me, well, should I test? And it's like, well, you can spend $300 on a test before you start. Right. And then you do the procedure, which will be about $300. And then you will retest for another $300. So you will confirm that it's out of you.
Right.
Well, I'm telling you, do the procedure. You will feel better. That's their confirmation that you have.
Sure, there it was, right?
Right. So exactly. If you're the curious George, you can spend money on testing, but you don't have to. Just do the detox.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
And then the second one that we call malnutrition, which the food industry in cahoots with the agricultural industry, in cahoots with the chemical industry, are producing food-like objects that they present, but these things are so deficient.
Right. Void of nutrition completely.
And so we have this lots of calories, not enough nutrients.
Right.
That's the common problem. If you eat at a fast food restaurant, you're providing yourself with a load of calories, but not necessarily healthy things.
Absolutely.
And one important point here, refined and fortified and enriched are horrible words.
Right.
Refined flour, refined salt, refined sugar, refined plant seed oils, and homogenized pasteurized dairy.
Yes.
Those things are detrimental to health.
Yes. Yes. They take out the nutrients. Yeah.
Right. So you need to build food that's nutrient rich. So we help with that. Right? We have nutrient loaded superfoods and supplements, and these days taking a nutritional supplement is not a silly option. It's a requirement because the food as presented is not sufficient.
Yes, I have been told something we learned in medical school, and you have to realize what you learn in medical school is based on 50-year-old medicine, 50-year-old knowledge. And one of the things that is quoted very, very often is you don't need vitamins if you eat, if you just eat correctly. And so my thought is, well, correctly, what does that mean? People don't really understand what correctly means. And maybe so if you have a farm in your backyard and your own cow and chicken. Most people don't. So it's, but that statement, you don't need vitamins if you just eat correctly. And that was well studied, but those are old studies. This is a different.
This might have been true in 1934 when you just walked to the backyard and harvested your broccoli off the back lot.
Exactly. Yeah. Not the case anymore. Not even close. Not even close. So and that is the old medicine that we've learned. So a new day and age now.
Yeah. The main point I want to make on that is NPK. That's the superphosphate, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. They push the plant to grow big, vigorous, nice looking.
Yes.
However, it does not extract sufficient nutrients from the soil.
Right.
And so you have these hollow foods. And there are studies showing that the nutrient density of food today is about 10% of what it was 120 years ago.
Absolutely.
That is scary.
It is frightening.
If you want to match a pound of salad your grandma ate, you need to eat 10.
Exactly. Right.
Salad.
Right.
Right.
Right. Absolutely. I quote to my patients that, 1 cup of broccoli should, give you enough magnesium, B vitamins, to supply you for the day. But that was, and again, in our grandmother's age, now it takes 12 cups of the same broccoli to achieve the same. I don't know about you. I'm not going to spend any time with you in the same room if you eat 12 cups.
Cannot be done.
It can't be done. Right. Yeah. And so,
Okay. So that was my leg number 2.
Absolutely.
Number 3 is stagnation, which thank you, Gary Brecka.
Yeah.
For this line.
Yeah.
the relentless pursuit of comfort is the reason you're aging.
Wow. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so
Yeah.
what's he saying here?
Very well said.
We are a sedentary culture.
Yes.
I'm sitting here in front of a computer, and that's the movements. No, I'm supposed to be loading a truck, or I should be pitchforking and hay, or I don't know what,
Right.
manure out of a cow stall. I should be lifting weights. I should be walking minimum 10,000 steps every day, right? Yes. All of that. Yes. And so if I don't, like, just an example, your bone is calcified or mineralized where the muscle attaches, but only mineralizes when the muscle is being stressed.
Correct.
Therefore, if you don't stress your muscles enough, you will experience bone loss.
Correct.
Done. Right?
Easy.
And the second thing is your muscle itself, the muscle mass is the storage device for energy, for glycogen that you will have available to you. So the less muscle mass you have, the more likely you are to have metabolic problems, because you have no buffers.
Right. Hence the definition of aging, loss of muscle mass, right there.
Right. And bone mass that goes with it.
And bone mass, absolutely.
And so then you take your 2 sigma bone scan and you're wondering what happened.
What happened?
Did not exercise.
Right.
Yeah.
And those comforts are killing us. Absolutely, are the basis. Well said.
And of course, the stagnation business is your lymph has to move, and if you don't move, your lymph does not move, and the lymph is the sewage. It's a nice metaphor. Sewage system of your body. It helps to detoxify, and if you don't move it, it turns swampy.
Yes.
Stinky feet, stinky armpits, stinky crotches.
Yep. Stinky breath.
Putrefaction on the inside.
Yes.
Now, put a deodorant on. No.
Yeah.
Go for a walk.
Yes.
All right. So that's stagnation.
Excellent.
Super important. And finally, the trauma that you mentioned or asked.
So interested here. Yes.
Well, so we have all kinds of sources for it, right? Adverse childhood events, ACEs. That's the beginning of it. Right? I mean, if you go studying that, you will see that it will shorten your lifespan the more of these you experience.
Right.
Results of that. The other, you can accumulate trauma either through a large explosive event or through a whole lot of drips, of tiny little things. Living a life filled with fear.
Right.
Watching the daily news, driving in traffic.
Thank you.
Right?
Yes.
Those are the little drips.
Absolutely.
And then you could intersperse it with the occasional mugging or robbing or who knows what else may happen to you. Of course, if you're a first responder or an ER nurse or whatever, well, God bless you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The things you see and amazing. So and people don't realize trauma is, we look at other people, that have had experiences and say, they have had trauma, but we don't realize, like you say, even just a dance of traffic every day and these little races that we go through trying to live our lives or a drip. That's very well said. So
financial stress is one of the worst things you can imagine.
Absolutely.
And so many people suffer it.
Absolutely. Financial and marriage and taking care of your parents, your aging parents, taking care of your kids, and all those things we do to take care of other people and not ourselves.
So those are traumatizing events. And so they will trigger the release of cortisol into your circulation. Yes. I have this tincture called Cortisol Ease, which helps the body get rid of circulating cortisol. I've had young gamers who like to go all the way to bedtime in full on, right? Like they're fighting the digital enemy. And then they want to shut it off. But this is a student problem too. You're trying to cram something and you're reading with intensity until bedtime. And then you say, okay, time to close the book. Well, your body doesn't wired. So we have this Cortisol Ease. You
Nice.
take it, and 10 minutes later, it's taken its work. I had
Nice.
a gal with a continuous glucose monitor on.
Mm-hmm.
She was using it because of a type 2 diabetes threat.
Yes.
Anyway, so she took the cortisol ease, and she said, the moment you take it, you can watch on the readout how the
Yeah.
insulin level goes down because the glucose level goes down. Because, and to explain the physiology, when
Yes.
you're in fight or flight, your
Mhm.
body raises the glucose availability because you're preparing to fight the enemy or
Correct.
flee from it.
Yes.
So the high glucose is in fact a stress reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So when you take this cortisol ease, the stress is going down, and with it the glucose is going down, and with that the insulin's going down, with that your A1C is improving, with that one blah blah blah, the whole works, right?
Absolutely. Oh, you've hit on so many beautiful points about, the foods that we're eating, but the insulin resistance and the stressors and all that, combined together. And this is, you wonder why we're walking around, more obese than ever.
Yeah.
And
And
we
now
live
let
that
me hit you with
lifestyle.
the biggest one.
Absolutely.
That's the Wi-Fi,
Yeah. Oh,
4G and 5G,
yeah.
which is,
Yes.
go look it up if you want to. It's called
Mhm.
voltage gated calcium channel.
Right.
Dr. Martin Pall, PALL, PhD, studies galore,
Yeah.
explaining how this voltage gated calcium channel
Yeah.
gets activated by the vibrationals
Right.
that are triggering the cells to go. Oh, yeah, the calcium.
Yeah.
Calcium is the signaling molecule for the fight or flight. It activates the sympathetic. Magnesium
Yes.
is the antidote. Magnesium is
Abs-
unengaging or disengaging this sympathetic drive.
yes.
So you will be depleted in magnesium, and you will be anxious, and you will be wired, and you will be aging faster, and you will have higher blood pressure and slower elimination. And what else is the main drivers of the sympathetic dominance, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, and something I talk about with my women who have estrogen dominance, hormone dysfunction, that Wi-Fi is well studied and well known to be a cause, especially 5G. I realize 4G as well, but 5G really hit us hard. And so I asked them to, try to get the Wi-Fi, out of their room when they're sleeping, and try to keep their phone, away from their
Right.
head and away from the body. So use their speaker, use their Siri, their, whatever they use for their AI and things like that, to try to eliminate, because that is a huge part. Absolutely.
Mhm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Well said.
we
Yes.
fell upon a company that makes a device that
Mm.
sends out a harmonizing signal. So
Wow. Okay.
they call it the phi wave. Phi as in the harmony, the golden mean.
Ah, yes. Yes.
And what they do is they send a reminder to the parasympathetic that
Mm-hmm.
says, ignore that
Wow.
stressor, stay calm.
Wow.
Here's an example.
Wow.
I heard from a lady. She bought it, installed it. Well, there's nothing to install it. Plug it in, turn it on.
Yeah.
And she said, within 2 hours, the teenage angst of my 17-year-old girl
Oh, wow.
dissipated. We stopped arguing. We
Mm.
started living together. We're now friendly, and we don't have drama,
Wow.
which is what she didn't expect any of that. Right?
Sure. Sure.
But that's what it does. It takes the friction level down.
Absolutely. Very, very important. So you mentioned a lot, and I think we'll probably have to take a short break here in just a second. So actually, I'm going to hold this question until we get back, so we can talk a little bit about more some of the emotional component of that, sympathetic drive and whatnot. I do want people to know where to find you, though. Give us some information on your website and things like that, where we can find more.
The website is called Life Enthusiast, and it's life-enthusiast, ENTHUSIAST.com.
Yes. Excellent. Yes, and great info. I've been. This is a wonderful website, and it's a great place to get started. Definitely a great place to educate yourself more on all this information. Of course, I am going to have this on my website after this airs at drpbetterlife.com. Not to mention there are other great shows, and I would love for everyone to come check it out and subscribe. But yes, life-enthusiast.com. We will step away for just a moment, be right back, and then I've got a great question for you. I'll take it.
Depression, anxiety, low energy, weakness, these are just some symptoms of low B12 levels. And the absorbable B12 folate supplement that's helping people declare victory over depression symptoms is DeNovo Plus B12 by Magna Pharmaceuticals. Patients with symptoms of depression often exhibit low levels of folate and vitamin B12. The human body needs sufficient folate intake to produce the essential neurotransmitters serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. These neurotransmitters alleviate feelings of sadness, anxiety, and gloom. What makes DeNovo Plus B12 so successful? DeNovo Plus B12 contains readily absorbable folate and B12. That means it's more successful at correcting the root cause of your deficiency, not just the symptoms. Whether you are suffering with low energy, depression, fatigue, or anxiety, you owe it to yourself to learn more at magnaweb.com. That's magnaweb.com. Please let us know at checkout that you heard about DeNovo Plus B12 on The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston.
So we mentioned methylation in that commercial.
That was an awesome ad, you know.
Because, we were just, yes,
because it fits right into this metabolic. Okay, the most parasympathizing thing we have nutritionally is chlorophyll.
Right.
And so they mentioned folate,
yes,
right, which is the source of it. Not folic acid. Please remember, folic acid is unmethylated, and that's what, when you see the word enriched or fortified, run away from it, especially if you have the MTHFR, which 40% people in America do.
Yes.
Be careful of that. But anyway, awesome.
Great. Thank you. Yes, Dr. Lesser and his little company have been very supportive. But MTHFR is something that he opened my eyes to, and I've done with patients for years now because I have that as well, and I know that plays such a huge part in the sympathetic drive and the inability to detoxify and all these factors. And that was part of the question I was going to ask. Coming back, those feelings of anxiety awakening and difficulty sleeping, and this is something that people deal with on a regular basis, and need to deep breathe and do things. But the cortisol management and all extremely important. So continue with more on that. I think that is a hot spot.
So the most parasympathizing food is chlorophyll. I mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
The most parasympathizing mineral is magnesium.
Yes.
So, the brain magnesium, probably threonate or bisglycinate, but it can be used topically quite effectively, especially if oral magnesium will activate the bowel flush. So if you take a high dose of magnesium, high enough to put you to sleep, you also probably will have to empty your bowel.
Diarrhea as well. Yes, absolutely. So good. Right. Yeah, topical is wonderful. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's great. And so there are two main forms, citrate and chloride. And the chlorides are awesome for the oxidizers, and citrates are awesome for the autonomics.
Interesting.
Match the physiology.
Yeah, makes beautiful sense. Yeah.
And if you mismatch it, you're going to have unpleasant outcomes. Yeah,
absolutely. Oh, that's so interesting. And so, explain that a little bit further again about the oxidizing and all. I think that's a beautiful topic. Big topic.
Those are the drivers of the physiology, right?
Sure.
You could be left-handed or right-handed or brown-eyed and blue-eyed. You will have this dominance, and some of us are alkalized by fats, the others by carbs. So if you are in the anxiety situation, and you do the carb test, and you're made worse, more anxious, then your antidote is the fat. Therefore, low carb keto diet for you.
Right.
But you could be the other way around. You could be the most anxious puppy on a keto diet, and you need to figure out how to not be.
Right.
So that's the answer you get out of the metabolic typing test
Right.
where, I mean, you can figure it out on your own. It's not
Sure.
like you couldn't. But
Sure.
with the coach, with the help, it's like me handing you a user's manual to your body,
Right.
describing to you, do this, if that.
Right. Which is beautiful. Well, I think most people are looking for something easy to help them, guide them with that. And so what about pH testing? Do you advocate people doing pH testing and following that?
Well, okay, so the urine will tell you what your body's getting rid of.
Mm-hmm.
So it's telling you what's in excess.
Right.
The saliva testing, well, first thing in the morning before you start eating and before you start thinking, because if
Right.
I ask you to think for a while about a lemon, well, let's talk about lemons for a while, how juicy and sour and whatever they are. Do you
Interesting.
notice that you have salivation starting in your mouth right now?
Yes.
Just as I mentioned, lemons.
Absolutely.
Right? So dial in your mouth is going to set it off, and you will no
Right.
longer have a true measurement. So I don't
Interesting.
know. This pH paper is a good thing. The
Yeah.
best use for a pH paper, I think, is in testing your poop, your feces.
Okay.
I forgot to do something. It's ringing the computer.
No problem. Good.
Okay,
So testing your feces.
testing your feces is an important thing, because
Wow.
if your poop is more alkaline than 6.5,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
so it should be slightly acidic.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not, you're not producing enough short chain fatty acids,
Right.
and you will have problems.
Wow. Interesting. All right. There you go.
I mean, we could get really nerdy here.
I
We
would
could
love
start
to.
talking about, the cascade and the waves of the
Yeah.
pH. Alkaline
Yeah.
in the mouth, acidic in the stomach, alkaline in the small intestine, acidic in the colon, most
Sure.
acidic in the exit point.
Yes.
That has to take place. If it
Right.
doesn't, if you don't have these tides of
Yeah.
pH balance, you're not digesting and eliminating correctly.
Absolutely. And gut issues are huge. Leaky gut and all the gut issues are something we spend enormous. The microbiome and all. I mean, the microbiome and all the bacteria that live in your intestine have to live at a certain pH, or they're not going to be balanced. You have Candida. You have, oh my goodness.
Yeah, and
plus
so as an example,
right.
the bacteria in the small intestine are supposed to make butyrate,
Mhm.
and if they're not making butyrate, it's needed in your colon. So
Right.
you need to, if you're not making it, you could supplement it, but you should also figure out how to
How to fix
change
it.
the terrain to make it.
Absolutely.
We could get really into the
Right.
nerdy stuff.
Absolutely, we could, and because it is just that I don't want to say complicated, but just deep. There's just so many points. So I try to do things that will make it easy for people to follow some guidelines, because I know many people get very overwhelmed with trying to think of everything that they should be doing. And I think that you have given a nice overview of, things of staying away from toxic substances, environmental things, eating correctly, eating good, whole, rich foods, exercising, getting good sleep, managing your cortisol, good magnesium as a base, the right type, and all these things. These are very, very simple things that you don't have to get too far, too deep into, because they can't.
Yeah, I will mention endocrine dominance. There are 4 types: adrenal, thyroid, pituitary, and women could also have the estrogen drive through ovaries.
Right.
And the thyroid types need about 50 times more iodine than the adrenal types.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the thyroid types are tempted by starchy food, the adrenal types by savory food.
Okay.
The thyroid types gain weight with carbs, the adrenal types gain weight with fats.
Wow.
So depending which you are, if I put you on a keto diet, you will be either gaining weight or losing weight.
Right. That's
Right.
very true.
I can tell you ahead of time if you want to know.
Absolutely.
Test you.
Love it. Absolutely. And I think people should do that. And so wonderful. So tell us how people can find this testing and what process they go through, and let's get them started.
Well, it's life-enthusiast.com, and type in Metabolic into the search box. You're there.
Boom. Very good. I'm going to do this. I think this is very, very worthwhile. Is there any good reading? I mean, you've got some nice links on your website as far as some good reading material, educational material.
Yeah. Well, there are 2,000 different blog posts, all related to different questions you may have, as in, should I take a statin, or how do I regulate my blood pressure, or what's the function of my thyroid? We have those kind of encyclopedic articles there. And then we also have 500 plus podcasts in mostly introducing the products. I usually record sessions with the manufacturers, helping to explain the 600 different products that we have.
Nice.
Not that you need 600. It's just that there's such a variability in human experience. So we need to find the combination for you.
Yeah, very beautifully personalized. So it's not something you want to sink your teeth into and just start buying willy-nilly. You definitely want to look at things and make sure that you're getting the right things. So life-enthusiast.com. I am going to have all of that information on the website. So drpbetterlife.com. And I know we could probably go for such a long time on this because it's a great, great topic, very important. But I appreciate you so much coming on and explaining all this. I hope people will come your way and take a look. This is very important. And I thank you so, so very much for your time. Any thoughts you want to wrap up with and give the audience? Anything we missed?
Well, the responsibility. You are the agent of your own life, of your own health. Please take control of it. Decide that you are going to do for you what nobody else will.
Thank you.
I can be a guide, I can be a coach, I can offer directions, but the work is yours.
Absolutely. Excellent. Thank you. Very, very important that people understand that. Take it in, take the reins into your own hands. So I absolutely appreciate you so much. We will send people your way, and everybody have a fantastic week, and take a look at this website, life-enthusiast.com. And Martin, thank you again so much.
It's been an honor.